You've probably heard people say things like the rich just get richer, or that when you have lots of money it makes more money. And the reason why is because once you reach a certain amount invested, your net worth can absolutely explode. And this key amount is £100,000. But the first £100,000 takes time. It takes small amounts over long periods of time to actually make it happen. If you're watching this video right now and you're in this period and you feel like it's taking ages, then don't worry. It happens to us all. But there are some key reasons why it does. So today we're going to run over three main things, and these are why it takes so long to reach that 100k, why net worth goes nuts at 100k, and how to get to 100k as fast as possible. We're unpacking the simple maths behind it and look at how you can make it possible too. So let's start with why it takes so long to reach 100k. There's a quote by legendary investor Charlie Munger, who recently passed away at the cool age of 99. That's become pretty renowned in the investing community. Back in 1990, at a Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting, a young man jumped up to ask a question, and he asked, how could I get started growing his own investments to his first 100k? Charlie replied with his famous quote. He said, well, the first 100k is a bitch, but you have to do it. He then went on to say, I don't care how you do it. If that means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find your way to get your hands on 100k. He finally said, you can ease off the gas a little bit once you get to that 100k. Now, Charlie's quote has become so famous because he knows only too well that the first 100k is the hardest, and wealth growth absolutely explodes once you get there. Now, for me, he's a bit extreme on the eating with coupons and walking everywhere vibe, but the reasoning behind it makes a lot of sense. Now, my own portfolio just hit £130,000 about a week ago, and I could say firsthand that the first 100k felt like it took forever, but now I'm starting to see the benefits of compound interest really starting to kick in. I can literally see that the next 100k is going to happen a lot faster. In fact, it's almost likely to be almost half the time if I keep getting the same returns. So how long did it take me to reach my first 100k? Well, it took me exactly 7 years and 4 months. My total contributions during that time was 78,400, and my gains and interest were 21,600. Now, why is it so hard? Well, that's because initially the majority of that 100k, as you've seen from my own contributions, came from my own money. Initially, I could only put in a couple £100 a month, but as my income grew, I massively increased my contributions, helping me get to it a lot faster. And that's going to be likely the case for many of you listening to this. When you're in your early 20s, even your mid 20s, and sometimes your early 30s, your income is likely to be a lot smaller, but as you grow your income, you should start to increase your contributions, which will help move this train a lot faster. So what do I actually mean by this? Well, the capital you invest and your scale of capital is the massive point here. So let's break this down so you can understand what I mean. Now, £1,000 invested at a 10% return for 1 year gives you £100 in return, and £500 at 10% gives you £500 in returns, and £10,000 at a 10% return gives you £1,000 in return. Now, a lot of people think the rich get access to better returns or investments than us everyday mortals, but they really don't. They actually just get the same as you and me. They just have more capital to actually scale their return, that scale of capital. This 10% that I've been talking about, you can actually expect yourself as an average return from somewhere like the S&P 500. Now, it's important to note that this return is over a 10-year plus period, so it will vary hugely in shorter timeframes, but for the sake of this video, I just want to keep it simple, so we're going to use that 10% return. So initially, the first 100k, most of the money is coming from your own pocket, meaning you have to put blood, sweat and tears, and of course some time into making that a possibility. Now, we know why it's harder to get to 100k. Let's dive into why net worth actually goes nuts after 100k. Now, the main reason for this is compounding, or compound interest, as some of you will know it. Now, as we've seen from the scale of capital, that first £1,000, if you got that 10% a year, would give us that £100. But if we was growing it by 10% a year and we had £100,000, our portfolio would be growing by £10,000. For the average UK salary of £35,000, that's over 1/3 of your entire salary after tax, which isn't bad, right?
I think I'd take it.
So let's break this down and show you a visual on this. If I was to invest £10,000 a year and get 10% back on my return, it would take me 7 years and 5 months to get to that first 100k. But to reach 200k, investing £10,000 a year, it would take me 4 years and 1 month, which is a whole 3 years and 4 months faster, or 54% faster, which is a significant increase. The reason being, our interest is now earning larger amounts each year. You're earning interest on the first first 100k plus the contributions that you're making, then you're then adding to that, increasing your income and then growing it like a snowball effect with your money. Now, next up, let's have a little look at how we could reach 500k. So to reach 500k, you can see from this visual that it continues to get faster and faster throughout each milestone, going from 2 years and 9 months from 200 to 300k, and then 2 years and 3 months to go from 300 to 400k, with the final 400 to 500k only taking 1.8 years, which is 316% faster than our first 0 to 100k. This is, however, you contributing the exact amount of money every year from the beginning, in this case £10,000 once a year. If you were to lower or increase these contributions, these calculations would change massively, and it will also vary if you added money once a year or added it monthly, for example. And as we know, initially in our 20s or whenever we actually start investing, we're usually going to be investing a little bit less. But as you've seen, it's actually the small amounts over long periods of time that gets you to that first 100k. Now, people scoff at the initial returns, but forget that those are the building blocks to allow you to reach the bigger numbers later down the line. Now, let's move on to how we can get to 100k as fast as possible. First off, I want to take the average UK salary of £35,000 again. This would give us a rough income of £2,300 net a month. If we invested 20% of our net salary, this would give us £460 a month. And if we got a 10% return, it would take us 10 years and 4 months to reach that first £100,000. But after 30 years, we would have over £1.04 million. This is because most of the gains are happening at the end, with over £430,000 of that £1 million coming in the last 5 years, with £99,000 being earned in interest in our final year. Our money makes money, and that is where this saying comes from. So the key contributing factor in this entire equation is time. Time and consistency equals results. You have to think in longer periods of time and have delayed gratification with building your wealth. It's the same for me and anyone else getting started with their investment journey, but there are ways to speed this up, and that's to increase your contributions. Now, I can hear you saying, Sammy, look, the cost of living is high enough and 20% is pretty difficult as it is. And look, I totally get that, but if you want to do it faster, you do need to increase your monthly contributions. That's just the fact. You can do this in two main ways. Either increase your primary income, so ask for a pay rise or look for higher paying roles, or you can start a little side hustle business that earns you a couple £100 a month. You'll notice how I haven't said go invest into things that could generate you more returns or take higher risk or try to squeeze an extra 1 or 2% extra a year from your portfolio. I am not saying that. I'm talking about keeping it very simple, investing into things like index funds that generate steady returns over long periods of time. Those little increases in monthly contributions will be the massive difference here. You don't need to find thousands extra a month. You could, it'd be nice, but you just need a couple £100 added on to your monthly contributions to massively change the trajectory here. Just adding an extra £250 a month here massively changes the game for you. If you increased your income, you'd need to go from 35k salary to a 40k salary, which is definitely achievable in a quick time frame to get that extra £250. Suddenly, your monthly contributions investing 20% goes from £460 to £710. Now, £710 as a monthly contribution takes us 7 years and 9 months to get to £100,000, and after 30 years, we would have 1.6 million. Now, what's mental here is that we would have contributed £255,000 during that time if we'd have put £710 a month in, but our gains would be closer to 1.36 million. The compounding effect is really kicking in. You see, the contributing factor here is time and consistency. For me, getting started as early as you can with whatever you can afford right now is really pivotal. If it's only 5% of your income, 1% of your income, then don't turn your nose up at that. Get into the growth mindset and look for ways to increase your contributions over time rather than waiting until you reach that optimum amount. Now, the perfect video to follow on from this is exactly how I reached my £130,000 portfolio and how you can do it too. And it's coming up on screen right now. And I'll see you over there so we can continue learning together. Just hit the button right there and let's keep this going. And peace and love, guys. It's been a real pleasure. See you on the next one.